Kundalini awakening, all the power I obtaining it. Yeah, I be writing scripts. All the pictures I be painting them. Epiphanies I be making them. Universes I be thanking them. All these visions I be seeing them. Kundalini awakening, like the pineal gland is waking up, flowing and giving me energy. Like Medusa got the snake on her, lighting up all of the chakras. Vortexes we were made with them. Came a long way from where I was. Had to escape, couldn't stay with them. Are you woke or are you really woke? I ain't talking about the music quotes. All this meditation golden flower. Got the surfing on my fitted though. Chakra pot, I'm going through the waves. High awakening like I'm Doctor Strange. Got me thinking while outside the brain. By myself, I'm going through the
every soul has a goal, also pays a price. That's the law of cause and effect. Dealing with space and time in this holographic universe, crossed between the lines in a tetragrammaton, Metatron, Budokai. Human destiny is inevitable. Suicide. Who am I? But a thought form that resides in the mind of the Most High. With Vishnu's vision, I see through my third eye. Vertical extinction in the upward spiral we climb. The golden thread in the paradoxical etheric field. I move ahead through the throat chakra. Next stop, the crown's bed, sitting on the throne of Osiris, conversating with the dead. The apprentice of Anubis, disciple of the mother principle. Rain cloud, the knowable things that
in my flow state, I'll be on my way now. Because either way, I'ma hold it down, taking care of my mind, and I'm looking fly. Is it perfect balance? They do not recognize me because I glowed up and showed up and understood the assignment. I'm feeling enlightened, I'm feeling so vibrant. All of the pressure made me to a diamond. You know how I'm stepping now, I'm in alignment. I am aligned. Surrender and just let your worries.
The Most High, boy. All seeing got more than a third eye, boy. Looking through your eye, boy. Ain't up in the sky, boy. Listen to your bird, dog. Who said I ain't fly, boy? Little work, you ain't gotta try, dog. Just believe. Intuition said we don't need a map. Just follow me. Just a piece of paper that be coming with the end of peace. I can do it all, dog. Chilling by a tree. It's a playground. Go and be up on the.
everybody wanna be a piece. Let me show you how to do it.
Wow, I meditate like a Buddha. It's not just a rumor. No. I come from the future. I'm an ancient Tartarian ruler. Real. Death is just an illusion. It's all in your head like a tumor. Reality is holographic. We're living inside the computer. Wow. You know they call me a demigod. Yeah. I manifest any reality. Wow. Jealousy isn't the remedy. Yeah. Vanity, yes, insanity. Wow. We're living inside the terrarium. Yeah. There's no such thing as a galaxy. Wow. Buoyancy is just gravity. Yeah. But why would they lie to humanity? Because this is a massive awakening. I see it with perfect clarity.
Peace and chaos. We are back. What's happening, YouTube family? What it do? Y'all give me a thumbs up in the chat if the sound is good. Give me a thumbs up real quick to let me know. I see y'all up in here. Shout out to all of the moderators, all of my Nagas and Fangs from Patreon. Just give me that thumbs up. All right. I appreciate that. Yeah, we haven't done a video since the Super Bowl decode. So this is the first video of March. But we lit up in here. We real lit up in here. So yeah, we're ready to get back into the information. I appreciate every single one of you for tuning into these videos. It really means a lot. And if you want to further support the content and you don't want to wait per month for a new video, I would recommend you subscribe to Patreon, the True Occult newspaper. It's patreon.com/THE_spiritual shade room. We do at least 2 to 3 videos a week, pack loaded with recent updates of what's happening from an occult metaphysical perspective. And I also do articles periodically on these events. I'm preparing an eclipse article next that's going to be packed and loaded with info for this April 8th shindig, this eclipse. So the more we understand why they are doing these things from the setting of, the ancients' perspective up to the modern date, It can help us modulate these frequencies correctly and balance the harmony of existence within ourselves. Each of us are uniquely experiencing a separate observation of these realities, and the elites are attempting to trap the world in their mundus imaginalis, their egregores from alternative timelines. And you have to take control of the narrative and resist the prototypical projection of a social outlook on these events transpiring. But with that being said, welcome back to the True Occult newspaper of the Spiritual Shade Room. We are here to enter into the fabric of non-Euclidean physics corresponding to the occult and metaphysical faction of psycho-spirituality. Here we study the Naga currents throughout history to the planet's Kundalini's repositories in the Samadhi state of the Sahasrara, which is the 1,000-petaled lotus in the mind. It redeems the alchemical journey of the hero pursuing the immortal elixirs of the void. So we cover gematria here, which is Jewish numerology and mysticism. We also cover ritual, symbolisms, and the social orders of the world, subconscious psycho-spiritual practice, retro-causal psychology, deity morphology, subatomic consciousness, and the sciences of the black hidden light of the Gnostic aeons, and many more mind-blowing phenomena. Just want to list my announcements early. The sacred plants are still in service. We made a major stride this week, getting everyone situated with different orders. If you're interested, you can email me at startribe777@gmail.com to inquire about them. There is a metaphysics to healing, if you didn't know. I wanted to give you some information on the esoterica of healing. And I'm still doing consultations, by the way, fam. So if this speaks to you, let's set up an initiative to have the conversation and begin a journey to shedding the degraded or degraded portions of the old self. But let's talk about healing, because that's what these sacred plants are supposed to be doing for you. For one, to properly heal metaphysically, and that's either whatever situation you're going through, whether it's trauma, an actual physical injury, some type of health condition. The sacred plants, whether it's crystals, breathing techniques of yoga, stretching, chakra work, etc., anything. All of these must achieve something inside of you called magnetic purity through the purification of life. So there must be a attainment of dispelling this radiance, which shows itself in every person when they have linked all centuries in the head. And when this magnetic field is established, there is a radiation that goes forth. And then the significance of this will be somewhat apparent to the advanced esoteric students. And as some know, the magnetic field is established when the powerful vibration of the centuries in the front of the pituitary body and the century around and above the pineal gland, they swing in and out of each other's orbit. And the only controversial point in connection with the above rule is how, in what the manner this magnetic purity is to be achieved, and how the two centuries in the head can form together one magnetic field. So one of the things which should definitely emerge in our studies is the fact that disease in this world, no matter the form it takes on, is seldom of individual origin, unless a person misspends their life and definitely misuses their body, either through consumption or sexual dissipation. Then the bulk of the disease is to be found in the world today is almost entirely a group origin, which is inherited as a result of an infection or the result of undernourishment. So the last name cause is primarily an evil civilization. It is the result of economic maladjustment or the corruption of food, which we all know one of our main issues is corruption of the food. As these latter causes disease, the primarily end result of the inner subtle forces that are pouring upwards into the etheric bodies of energies on the physical plane, we must adjust these frequencies to have an effect on the outer world of forces. So certain things should be established as occult facts in the consciousness of the healer before he or she is able to work constructively. So let's have that conversation, if needed, via consultation, which I've been doing about 10 years now. It's been about 10 years. I'm here for each and every one of you. Y'all know y'all can email me, message me, what you do. You know, I did it for free for 5 years and enjoyed every moment of it. And it's still a relative cheap price, $60 for a consultation. And that's relatively cheap to these people out here, charging what they charge. So I just want to let those know who don't know that side of me to understand that I do care about you all. With that being said, today we are going to hit some strides and new information into understanding these conscious fields. We are still infants in retaining the gnosis the ancestors had on nature, cosmology, DNA, and energies. But we live in a time where the information is out here. It's really just there's too much information out here. Anybody feel like that? I mean, not to say it's a bad thing, but it's too much information on these platforms, you know. And so we're getting overflown with the different information. I think this is an era where this is the most information, you know, we've been bombarded with at one time. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, the Nagas are good. I see the John person in the chat. Yeah, the Nagas are good. Absolutely, we are Nagas. So this bombardment and all of this information, it turns into something else. You know, it begins to turn into something else. So we have to realize what's going on, because all of these people that have the information, you get these experts in different fields of studies. It's like they're trying to outdo one another, or they're sparring their interpretations of this reality. We have to be able to mitigate a middle ground to start to absorb and learn things that's going to shift the way we observe ourselves and the world. So Soul Elementals is the title of this master class. I want to give a shout out to Donut and Juan for having me on their podcast the past 2 weeks. We did Illuminati Vampires and the Cetus Ritual, 2 classics. They're already classics. They're going to be released real soon, and I can't wait for you guys to see them. So subscribe to Patreon to get them early, or subscribe to Wine or Donuts respective platforms so you can get them early as well. All exclusive content for Nagas and Fangs are for the True Occult newspaper, those who support the platform. So it's very, very important to the platform that you support it. Recently, we did a video called The Human Elemental. I think I got that graphic. That was a great class we did on the Human Elemental. I thought it was so great because we went through a lot of scholarship. So I said, let's take it a step further. Let's go further. Let's go into Soul Elementals. So this will be the second part of that class that we did on Patreon. So if anyone's listening today, if they feel like their karmas in life, all of us are dealing with these karmas, We're also dealing with the dharmas and these other aspects that I'll get into real soon. I see you up in there, Donut. Shout out to Donut up in the chat. Definitely shout out to that brother. Y'all make sure y'all following the Donut Factory as well, which a lot of you are. Yeah, so these karmas and dealing with the dharma, it's very important that we understand these aspects, because if your karma in your life has really affected and shifted the progress of your healthy thinking, it means that you have overpopulated elemental lives. And I'll explain that throughout the video, what that is. And it means that these elemental lives do not any longer serve your desires. And I'm not talking about the Disney Nickelodeon version of elementals like this graphic here. I talked about this a couple of videos ago. We ain't talking about this type of elementals now. Even though this was a very esoteric movie on Disney. This is a hell of esotericism. I'm not making fun of that, but a lot of people think of elementals to be these little totem spirits, like some fairies on your shoulder or something like that. We're not talking about that. So we got to get our childish perspectives. A lot of that comes from religion. And these aspects, not to say religion can't help people. I'm not saying that. I'm not bashing religion. I'm just saying that some of those aspects can reduce the esoteric mind to a childish outlook, you know. It's a very childish outlook. You said, rest in peace to your Aunt Georgia. She learned a lot from your videos, Auntie, and the group as a whole. She passed away last week. Send my condolences to your family, C-Trey, and to your aunt. Rest in peace, Aunt Georgia. So yeah, these fire, earth, water, air elementals are not the same elementals mentioned in the occult compendium of scholarship. They give that shit to the laggards. You know, this type of stuff I'm showing on the screen right now. That's for the laggards or the uninitiated. The uninitiated of the advanced physics of the discussion. These elementals essentially are a comprising multitude of our mental plane's atomic foundations. Essentially, they are the cells or the smallest units of how we think and gravitate towards motivation or perceptions or attractions in the world of thoughts. And I'm getting ahead of myself saying this, but I'm just trying to put in perspective what is actually, when we're talking soul elementals and real physics of it, there's a greater understanding of that. The elementals, when we're describing it on a subatomic level, we're talking about the magical biology to the anatomy of the conscious fields. And it's crucial that you know that these elementals have been multiplying since you could even perceive reality. And the problem is that their allegiances are not to you currently. You have to command their allegiances. That's what the video is about. And the Sanskrit Theosophical Gnostic text says that your third eye is the part of you that gets the elemental's attention. Getting ahead of myself saying that, because the third eye, the way that people use that term is oversaturated today. It falls into wokeism and all types of stuff, you know. So if you want to know how the sorcerers of this reality keeps the world in their palm, they have gotten the 4 cardinal corners of the universe from the pole regions of the angelic intelligences in the star fields, they've gotten their attention. They become attentive to these people's or these sorcerers, these Kabbalist elitists' existence by getting the elementals of the mental plane to turn their allegiances from the angels or the devas, that's the Vedic term for angels, or light side deitic powers. So they've gotten the elementals of the mental plane's allegiances. That's how they run the world. And the allegiance are to the souls of those individuals. So for the soul to become a working agent, assuming that it is the Kadosha, which is a Hebraic term for the Godhead. So assuming that it is the Kadosha of lesser intelligences of the cosmos, i.e., just to simplify, to become recognized as a God, because you got elementals, you got the word God and elemental, the God of the mind, or the gods of the mind. It's essentially what it means when you break down the etymology. To get them to be, or to get you in your soul to be recognized as a God to them, the soul has to gain rapport through trance-like states. That means slower waveform consciousness, like the theta delta circuits. And how it gets to these rapports is by burning bright within the spiritual plane. And that's through raising the Kundalini centripetal interpellations, which gives them enough susurration in a lifetime to assume the form of a star after death. That is the ancient cosmological science. I said a lot right there. That's thousands of pages of texts compressed in a couple of sentences. And that's how you become an adept, if you can bring the information and put it in compressed states. That's what AI does on a regular. It's just compressing information for you. So the elemental lives have to recognize you as their star or their world, their God energy that sustains them, sort of how we look to God in ourselves. We're looking to something inwardly. You know, a lot of religious folks, they're looking outwardly, but you're looking to something greater than yourself, which we call this 6th century Germanic term God. You know? And we look at the sun and the moon as a representation or the holographic form of God's ontological effects on nature as a whole. So those are some tidbits of the lecture today. Those are some tidbits, and I want you to begin thinking about this as we get into it. As we discuss this today, I will have a question and answer, a Q&A at the end of the video. We will have a Q&A like usual. Now, let's get into some of the hyperlucidity. Those who don't know, we talk about what's happening in the world before we go deeply in depth. If anything crazy happens tomorrow, they're going to say it's a coincidence, but tomorrow is 3/22, is the Skull and Bones date. So if you hear any news tomorrow, you better believe it has something to do with the Skull and Bones and the rituals that's been happening since last year. The 322nd anniversary of Skull and Bones was in 2023. You know, 223, the reverse of 322 minus the 0. So you have to know that. What else is happening around here? There's some things going on. We'll get back into this cloning stuff. We'll talk about this cloning stuff. I want you to get the movie. I want you to get this movie. Me and Juan went in on this movie. We went in depth in talking about this movie, but you notice all of these Hollywood stars, they have too many of these doppelgangers, either through time in the past, throughout history, or currently today. There's someone that looks exactly like them. We'll chop it up and be like, well, you know, you're supposed to have a twin somewhere in the world, you know, but it's just a little bit too obvious, you know. It's a little bit too obvious, if you ask me, because I've been doing the cloning breakdown of the information. And, you know, you get deeper, they start talking about, you know, all of them are the opposite genders. I broke that down. You got to look into free Martinism. That's really what's happening, is that free Martinism. Whereas they're speaking about a opposite hormonal injection into the mother when the baby is in fetus form, which causes them to envelop the opposite hormonal development, and they get the opposite gender's skeleton, and they're called a free Martin. So they're still the gender that they are. They just have a complete different hormonal rhythmic correspondence, and they have an opposite skeleton. You know, that's what's actually happening, but it's deeper than that. I want you to think deeper than just that, because I've been talking about biocryptography, mononuclear production, optogenetics, CRISPR editing, genetic technology for years. Had a video called The Clonedemic before they erased my last YouTube. By the way, we're going to start uploading those YouTube videos from my channel on my Patreon. It's going to be in the upper tiers, because I know those people be looking on that as well, trying to report stuff. So what is actually happening? I want you to get a movie. Just going through a couple of these pictures, but there's a movie to the reason why some of these people look like they're doppelgangers. The movie is called, let me pull it up for you, The Devil Conspiracy. I've been sleeping on this movie. I knew it was out last year, and I said I'm gonna get around to seeing it, but I finally got around to seeing it about last week. I'm back on my movie binge now, and this movie is heavy. It's about a battle between Michael, the Archangel Michael, and Lucifer. They're battling in these astral planes, and then you got this secret society in the Vatican, the Catholic Church, and they're cloning these people. They're having these meetings, and they're selling these babies out to these millionaires or billionaires. It's crazy, man. They're showing you everything. There's no leaf unturned in this thing. In the movie, they're showing you how they're using CRISPR genetic editing and cloning and electroencephalogram consciousness transference. You know how they said these billionaires are able to transfer their consciousness. We're going to talk about that with Jacob Rothschild today. You saw that movie, Mystic Breakdown? Yeah, you got to see this movie. I want to play something for you. Real quick. Let's talk about it.
Next up for bid, one of the greatest poets and architects, considered to be the greatest sculptor and draftsman, living or dead, the creator of the Sistine Chapel, the David, St. Peter's Basilica, and the Pieta. Tonight's prize possession, Michelangelo Buonanotte.
Should we start the bidding tonight at 10 million euros? And there we have it, just like that. 15 million, 20 million, 30 million. Any advance on 30, 40 million euros.
So if you don't know what's happening here, you got the baby crying. Basically, you can get any philosopher, genius, musical composer throughout history, and they get some of their DNA and they clone them, and they're bidding, they're having an auction of the babies where these billionaires are bidding for these cloned children of these genius philosopher, people throughout history. They're bidding for these children to become theirs for millions of dollars. This is what's actually happening. Don't think this is just a movie. So when I showed you this, the movie is called The Devil Conspiracy. Those of you asking in the chat, they even got the alchemical symbol. Look up this symbol in alchemy, the Delta Triangle. I've been talking about that. That's in Freemartinism too. That's in Freemartinism. So a lot of these things, you think these celebrities became famous because they're good actors, or they have such high IQ. But really, these people were selected long before they even knew they would be selected. Go get the TV series Gen V. We talked about this, I think, in Corvus Tenebri's video, and you got to go watch the new The Boys that's about to come out. Gen V talks about it, how these parents, they gave thousands of dollars to get their children injected with this certain, I don't know, it's like some chemical or something to change their genetics to become superheroes, but they get paid by the government to use their child as a guinea pig. And the government keeps track of all of these kids. And then the kids grew up to go to this university to teach them how to use their powers. And then they're rated on social media from 1, to like 100 of the greatest of all of the superheroes. That's masonry. That's how you get the top awards. Like you're getting rated in the top 10 if you're getting all of these awards within the year. Same stuff they revealed in Gen V, that these kids are being selected. Because I'm gonna talk about that Nickelodeon documentary that just came out, Big Time Ritual. Yeah, professional athletes as well. I'm talking about anybody on that TV stream, but whether it's political, whether it's Hollywood, whether you're running for government office, a lot of this stuff is orchestrated. World War I and II was a clone war. That's why they came out Star Wars. Look at all of the helmets in the Star Wars series. It's all relative to World War I and II. That is a documentary, because I told you how the star fields, especially with this Israel war, everything is a star war. They're battling over these placements, these ley lines, aligning with these constellations, which we're going to talk about a few specific constellations today. And that's why they're going to war. It's really astro-theological wars, but you essentially can call it Star Wars. Yes, Steph Curry and LeBron James were born in the same hospital. What's the odds of that? And they can just tell you any narrative, They can tell you any narrative. Did you hear LeBron? LeBron came out yesterday on his new podcast. LeBron came out and said, you have to sacrifice loved ones for a long period of time if you want to be great. The dead people are going to say, oh, he's talking about time. You got to sacrifice your time and stuff like that. Okay. All right. If that sounds good to you. A lot of times they have these Freudian slip ups, these Freudian slips of information, just like with Usher. You know, we did the Super Bowl breakdown. Did you hear your boy Usher come out? And a lot of people were saying I'm tripping and I'm trying to make something of it that is not. I'll let you be the judge of that. But he actually thanks the devil for his NAACP award 213 days before his next birthday. You know, Tupac died 213 days after he released the album All Eyes on Me that came out on 2/13. Death is 213 in satanic gematria. I expect for someone to be sacrificed for Usher. But check out this real quick. Hold on, I got to refresh this. Check out this, and you be the judge of it. I'm not trying to force any information on anyone. I'm not like that. You be the judge of anything that we say on here. But a lot of times, there's these Freudian slips. These people are paid to say and do certain things, and we take it for granted. Let me play this for you real quick.
Amazing award from the depth from the depths of my soul.
Nah, you said the DE. Nah, run it back. Hold on.
Award from the depth from the depth. It's amazing.
Hold on, I'm gonna play it again.
It's amazing award from the depth from.
So they're trying to say, oh, he said from the depths of his soul. But he said, I want to thank the devil for this amazing award. And he was about to say devil, but then he changed it to depths. And I'm saying that the science is down to a T where they even rehearse the recovery line. Well, when you say devil, don't really say it, but you come behind it and say depths, because that'll throw them off. But we have to do this thing strategically. And it's called revelation of the method. It's called revelation of the method. They have to reveal the methodology. But yeah, that's all I'm saying with these people. They're selected. You know, these people are worshiped like deities. And we have to be very, very understanding, especially when you have this type of information and knowledge that you're learning, that you shouldn't be in the same thinking. You should not be in the same thinking as everyone else. Speaking of that, they had a documentary released on, I think it's St. Patrick's Day. Came out on St. Patrick's Day. It was called Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. And it was a documentary speaking about how a lot of these Nickelodeon child stars were being molested. They were being forced to do certain things, and there were pedophiles in the room. It was just real disturbing to watch this thing. And it's all pointing to this guy named Dan Schneider. And the documentary is all about him primarily, because I think he was like the main producer on Nickelodeon. Interesting, it was released 303 days before Dan Schneider's birthday. The subtitle is The Dark Side of Kids TV. The Dark Side of Kids TV equals 303, just like 33. And Dan Schneider equals 289 in gematria. March 17th leaves 289 days in a year. And we also revealed that the word Nickelodeon, the etymology is Nick Kalo Deos, which means I don't care about God. That's what the word Nickelodeon means. So for the longest, and I was talking about the little splash. Someone brought up a good point on my post. I was talking about the little splash. You remember the kids used to get, sludge or goo splashed on their face. somebody brought up a point that represented something way more sadistic than what people knew. The little the sludge, or what do you call it, the slime, getting slimed, represented some of the pedophilic stuff that was going on. Y'all can use your imagination with that. Yeah, the green slime and all of that. And Donut pulled up something. Let me see if I have that for you. Donut did some research and figured out that if you line the Nickelodeon slime up, go to my library. If you line the slime up, it kind of mirrors, here it goes right here, Epstein Island. I thought that was some good research he did with that. It kind of mirrors Epstein Island. So sometimes they be putting little messages like that. But I think all of it is connected. And then the actor or child star, Little JJ, came out. And he posted this. He says, Just Jordan got canceled because I ain't giving up no, I don't have to say that word, but you get it. You get it. So all of this is all a part of it. Because, everybody was calling Orlando Brown crazy. And I think he's another one of these selected kids, just like the Devil Conspiracy. I think he doesn't know he was selected because he looks awfully. Orlando Brown was the guy that was saying this stuff been going down on That's So Raven. But he looks exactly like this Trippie Redd rapper. I always point this out. He looks just like this Trippie Redd rapper, this Orlando Brown character. And I think he made a joke about it once, that he looks like this guy. So this guy looks completely satanic. So it's just a big clusterfuck with what's happening in that type of industry. And we need to be aware of what's happening. Now, they finally release the photos of some of these things that's about to happen. Hold on. It was, Beetlejuice 2. They released some of the photos that's going to be on Beetlejuice. Where's that picture at? Here it goes. And Beetlejuice 2 has some of that pedophilic symbology in the 2. But this is Michael Keaton with the Freemasonic colors on as Beetlejuice, which is connected to the Betelgeuse star. Here's a on-set picture of the family in the movie. And look at what this director said about Michael Keaton. He says, it was kind of scary for somebody who was maybe not that overly interested in doing it, doing Beetlejuice. It was such a beautiful thing for me to see all the cast, but he sort of like demon possession just went right back into it. And me and Juan was having a conversation, that video will be out soon, where he was saying that Nicolas Cage's son, Wes Cage, was explaining for Nicolas Cage to get into all of these character roles, because he's done like 150 movies. He would have to do some magical work for talismans in channeling these spirits to play these roles. He channeled these spirits to play these roles. So do these actors and actresses, like I've been telling you, I have to do a video called soul boarding. When we're speaking deity morphology, there's archetypes of the deities. The deities are archetypes of parapsychology in the mind. But there's deities throughout history, and all of the actors, actresses, political figures, they're playing to a certain deity or astrological sign. And we must understand that sometimes they have to upload these daemonic forces in their mind to play the roles of these characters, like a Beetlejuice. You know, so, okay, shout out to you, Cody. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. You said Denzel Washington said that when he starred in Training Day. Did you hear Ghost from, what is it, Power? Did you hear what he said? Let me see if I can find that. He was talking about how much it took out of him to play Ghost. He was talking about it. I think he said he felt naked. Hold on, let me see if we'll pull up. I thought that was kind of weird of him saying that. It probably won't pull it up. Maybe it's an article on it. But yeah, he said he felt naked and it took a lot out of him to play that role of Ghost. It's crazy. You guys got to look that up. I don't see it on here. But that was very interesting for him to say that. All right. So, but yeah, Beetlejuice is about Betelgeuse, the star. This is a recent picture of Betelgeuse. And scientists have finally solved one of these mysteries to this dying star. This is one of the biggest stars in the universe, the shoulder of Orion, called the Red Giant. It is a dying star that's affecting the consciousness on the planet, from what these physicists are saying. And they're saying that Betelgeuse appears to be spinning faster than what is theoretically possible. So scientists are interpreting this as a rapid rotation, but it may actually be an optical illusion caused by this behemoth of a star. Its boiling surface, as new studies suggest. So there's some stuff going on with Betelgeuse that's very weird, what the scientists are saying, and it's just in time for this movie because his real name is Betelgeuse. If you look on the tombstone, it's Betelgeuse, not Beetlejuice. That's just throw people off. But it's about the star and the effects of consciousness. Everything is spiritual, you know. All right, so there's some stuff going on. You've been hearing about this woman, Prince William's wife, going missing. I've been looking into that. Kate Middleton, she went missing. She's the queen or the princess. She's the princess of Wales. And me and Juan got a video coming out called the Cetus Ritual. There is a star constellation called Cetus dealing with the whales of the ocean. And they're saying that this eclipse is going to pass through Cetus before it reaches the other Piscean constellations like Aquarius, Pisces, Austrinus, Eridanus, Delphinus. This is the Piscean era. But speaking of this being the year of the dragon, Cetus is called the dragonfish. The dragonfish, Babylonians and Sumerians and Mesopotamians called the Cetus whale constellation Tiamat, mother dragon. So it's no coincidence that the princess of Wales has been going missing. And speaking of Wales, the first area that this eclipse is going to pass through is a town in Texas called Jonah. You can look all of this stuff up. And they just came out with a movie a week ago called Jonah, about an extraterrestrial abduction. I'm going to break this movie down for you today. Break the movie down, but me and Juan went deeper even than what I'm going to give to you today. He was reading some John D. text about the whales and the archetype of the whale. It was some heavy stuff when that video comes out. But it's a town named Jonah. But before I talk about that, it's interesting. As soon as she go missing, they announced these monoliths back. You remember all of the monoliths? I remember when they were talking about all of these monoliths. Let me pull that up. These monoliths started popping up, and like right after the C word, there was a bunch of monoliths popping up all over the world, which is reminiscent to the movie Space Odyssey 2001, which was about a monolith. Also in the TV series The Witcher, they were speaking about how these monoliths open up portals. Now, I'm not saying that this monolith, that's what these monoliths are doing. That's what it represents some of these TV shows. But another one just popped up in 2024 in Wales. It popped up in Wales. Now, understand why. Why is this monolith popping up of all places? Then you got Kate Middleton missing. They're AI generating photos of her. They said she's been missing since Christmas. And they're putting out these falsified photos. Even this hat she has on right here, it kind of looks like a dragon, right? Let me show you occult symbolism real quick. This hat she has on, and maybe I'm tripping. It may be what they call it pareidolia or pareidolia, where you see things that's not there. Maybe I'm tripping. That's a possibility. Pareidolia. This is Prince Williams and Kate Middleton. This is the son of King Charles and I think Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen or something like that. But so these are the royalty. Yeah, you said it's the tongue, but what's interesting is that Wales, they're known as, you know, the Welsh people. Their brooch had the dragon, the red dragon, as a brooch. So the emblem of Wales is a dragon. You get it? In the year of the dragon. And I just told you that the Cetus whale constellation is called the dragonfish, Tiamat. And in the Babylonian mythology, Marduk kills the dragon Tiamat and uses her body to build the physical universe, or uses the remains of her body. All of this stuff is metaphysical. And you said if you have a spiritual eyesight, you are considered their enemy. Right. You said, what? Know the monoliths. What are their purposes? There's no purpose, honey. There's no purpose. Just they're paying homage to the movie. Let me show you. It's called Space Odyssey 2001. All you gotta do is Space Odyssey 2001 Monolith. This movie is like their big go-to movie. There's a cult of this movie, and they had a monolith appear in that. And what did they say? The monolith was named HAL, I think HAL. It says the monolith in 2001 Space Odyssey is a mysterious black object that appears at the key moments of human evolution. Interesting. So are they saying human is about to go through an evolution or what do you call it? Devolution, de-evolution through this transhumanism, or they about to devolve us. But it says it is a tool created by extraterrestrials that have been through many stages of evolution themselves, and whose main aim is to help less evolved species advance. The monolith is also a symbol of the stream on which the film is projected, and a reflection of the viewer's own curiosity and intelligence. So it's very occult. Very occult. You know? So it looks like a phoenix. So yeah, it's the year of the wood dragon, and the whale's brooch or emblem is the dragon. You have Kate Middleton. Now, let me show you the ritual with Kate Middleton. Where is Kate Middleton? So they got all of these photos. She's missing. And they're trying to AI generate her face, because they be playing with people's minds. She's probably fine, but she probably isn't. I'm not laughing at it, but she's probably fine, but she probably isn't, you know, because we think that these royal families are the top echelon, the end all be all, but they're subjects just like us. They're just rich subjects. They have rituals done to them. They're just the face of the true people running the world. You better believe that. But Kate Middleton has been missing since Christmas Day. They said that she reappeared with her husband March 18th, 2 days ago. That would be exactly 2 months and 22 days. 2 months and 22 days. Now, if you go to Gematria, go to occultdecode.com, and you just put the word in Kate, you'll notice in Sumerian mythology, her name equals 222, and she appears 2 months and 22 days later after her disappearance. That's 84 days. We know the 84 is connected to the Jesuit order, the assassins of the Catholic Church. But other things that align with 222, which is a lot. I think I have a graphic for that to show you. Hold on. I got a couple things to show you. I'll just pull it up for you. Order out of chaos. Order out of chaos equals 222. Order out of chaos equals 222. So does as above, so below. Now, her birthday is January 9th. So from January 9th, the day she was pictured with her husband, Prince William, to the day she was found is exactly 69 days. Her full name is Catherine Middleton. Catherine Middleton equals 69. Now, Queen Elizabeth II started her reign on 2/6, February 6th. She was coronated, or really it's 6/2 in America, not February 6th. My bad. June 2nd. So February 6th and June 2nd, the funeral was the 262nd day of the year. Queen of the United Kingdom equals 262. And from the day of her death, Queen Elizabeth, to the birthday of Catherine is 26 weeks and 2 days. So it's connected to the Queen of the United Kingdom. Queen equals 6226. You know, so from the image of the conspiracy theory, and her birthday is 62 days, Queen equals 62. The reverse is 26, killed equals 26. So there's just a lot of stuff that they're playing with this. But the main objective you need to look into is the Wales connection. Why is it a princess of Wales? But the X eclipse in 2024 is the path of totality and the center of Eridanus. And I highlighted that the Israel war is centered around Eridanus, which is a Piscean area in the northern hemispheres, Hydra, Virgo, Ursa Major around the pole star. It's about the cosmic dragon Tiamat. And is it a coincidence that in Chinese mythology that a eclipse is called a dragon? In Asian mythology, the eclipse is called a dragon. Well, Cetus is called the dragonfish, but it originated as a whale. But you remember all of the symbolism of the trident. The Ukrainian crest has a trident on it. You remember the Ukraine war, so it's dealing with these water rituals. Also, Ukraine used to be Khazaria, but the Khazars they were settled in that region, if you didn't know. So it used to be Khazaria. Ukraine used to be called Khazaria, if you didn't know that. And the crest, let's look up the Khazarian crest to see if they show it. Here it goes right here. It also has a trident on it, just like the crest of Ukraine. Let me blow that up for you. And, you know, Biden, his name means a bident, which is a two-pronged trident. This is a bident. His name is Biden, and he was in presidency when a country with a trident crest goes to war. And we talked about how that connects to Poseidon. Look up Operation Poseidon, dealing with 9/11, Operation Poseidon. That's how they killed Osama bin Laden, Operation Poseidon, and dumped his body at sea. But you'll see that there's these tridents that was in the World Trade Center. These tridents, I mean, the Twin Towers. So it's always been this symbology of water rituals going on. Yeah, I did make a video called Tiamat's Comets. Yeah, I did make that video. And it's interesting, there's a devil comet this year. There's some devil comet that's coming right behind the eclipse. But all of this is bibliomancy because there's this town in Texas called Jonah that the eclipse is going to pass through. It's this town, and this town consists of 7 to 8 other counties, and collectively in Texas they call it the Nineveh or Nineveh region of the Bible Belt. And in the Bible, Nineveh was given 40 days to repent, and Jonah was the messenger that gave them the 40 days. So the constellation that this eclipse in 2024 will pass under is literally the whale constellation, Jonah and the whale. And there's a devil comet that will be visible also at 12 p.m. And in Revelations chapter 12, verse 9, it talks about a star falling to the earth while the sun is dark. You know, Revelation 12, the comet at 12 p.m. can be seen. So are they talking about the same aspect of what's happening today? It's called bibliomancy. It's all bibliomancy. And the actual eclipse is on 4/8, which is the same day that Aleister Crowley began writing the book of law, the book of the law, that all of these magical societies, these black magic societies and orders of the world, they really studied the book of the law from Aleister Crowley. He started to write that on April 8th when the eclipse is. And isn't it interesting that the eclipse is going to empty out? It empties out of the US in a town named Crowley. Let me see if I can find that graphic. There's a town named Crowley that this eclipse is going to empty out. You see how they line this stuff up, guys? Let me pull that up. It was somewhere around here. But all of this stuff is orchestrated, is what I'm trying to show you. And I don't know how they can get an eclipse to line up with that. I even told Patreon, is there some Project Bluebeam going on with that? Here it goes right here. So April 8th is the first day of writing for Crowley's Book of the Law. All 7 planets going to line up April 8th. The eclipse path will also pass over Crowley, Texas. So there you go. You know, so all of this stuff is connected, guys. And speaking of that, there's some stuff, you know, eclipse symbolizes a blackout, almost like the moon covering the sun symbolizes some type of blackout. It has something to do with finances that I'm going to talk about in a second. But let me finish this Jonah information before we get into that. So there's a movie I want you to go see called Jonah. Already gave it as homework. That's homework for Patreon. Breaking this movie down. We'll probably break it down some more, but I wanted to show some things. Orsic Chow is one of the main characters. Birthday, July 20th. His birthday is exactly 4 months and 8 days from the release of the movie Jonah, just like 4/8 of the eclipse. And he played on Supernatural, like the main characters, all of them played on Supernatural, the show with Sam and his brother Dean battling these demonic and angelic beings and stuff. I don't know if y'all seen Supernatural. That was one of my favorite shows. But Jonah equals 223 in satanic gematria. It also equals 48, like the eclipse. Equals 4/8. You know, and at the beginning of the movie, I noticed some symbolism. Jack Rabbit Media shows this rabbit coming out of the portal. We just came out of the water rabbit, the year of the water rabbit in 2023. And I noticed he was taking antihistamines, which is interesting. After 2020, I had to get on antihistamines for allergies. So I thought that was interesting. Antihistamines is supposed to stop like allergic reactions, but I had a lot of ultra-terrestrial experiences with psychedelic plants. Not to say that I got abducted. I'm not jumping out the window with that, but these psychedelic plants open me up to higher dimensions. You know, so I don't know if antihistamines have something to do with extraterrestrial DNA. I have no idea. I have no idea, guys. But that caught my eye. There's a boy in the movie. Now the boy, Juan is so stupid. Juan said that the boy actually looks like a whale. You're fucked up for that, Juan. Stop talking about these babies now. This boy is like 12, 10 years old. Leave this boy alone. Oh, Lord. Wine is crazy, man. But the boy in the movie is the actual son of the woman in the movie. And there's a lot of metaphysics in the movie we're going to talk about on Patreon. We'll break it down this week. But that's her real son. That's her real son playing the role of Jonah. And her son, this is her son talking. Her son is possessed by an alien. And he's saying that humans will soon send honeybees into extinction. Then he says humans will soon, he said, and millions will die in the winter famine of 2025. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on with that? You know, what do you mean a winter famine of 2025? Sometimes in these movies, revelation of the method, you better know what's going on. You better not just take it for a movie. You better not take it for a movie. They've been talking about Civil War this year. They're coming out with the movie Civil War, I think, next month. You know, the original Civil War, the Confederacy had the X symbol. You got an X eclipse. All of this, man, I'm telling you. Better pay attention, but we'll break that down on Patreon going into this week. So make sure to join to get that full movie breakdown. What was I about to go into? Yeah, the financial, the digital currency whole thing. It has to do with the Jacob Rothschild death. Or the sacrifice. I believe they sacrificed Jacob Rothschild. I'll show you why. I'll show you why with that. You'll probably be like, why would they sacrifice one of their own? Y'all really don't understand how this stuff goes down. Is it a coincidence from 2017 that American solar eclipse on August 21st happened 6 years, 6 months, and 6 days from Jacob Rothschild's death on February 26, 2024. You said he was old already. Yeah, then they'll say that, you know, he was old already. Yeah, okay, he was old. So it's just a coincidence. He died 6 months, 6 years, 6 days from the American eclipse. Come on. Let's just be real, guys. Let's just be real. This stuff is happening, man. I'm trying to tell you. This stuff is happening for a reason. I mean, by all we know, the motherfucker's probably a robot. He probably been dead. We don't know what the hell is going on. So we try to act like just because we have common sense about reality that we really understand reality. We don't know shit. See, the wisest man knows he knows nothing. You see? I don't act like I know anything. I'm still learning. What I do know is that there's some weird shit going on in the motherfucking world. I know that. Things that can't be understood. So I don't try to act like I understand them. I just tell you some weird stuff going on. I just point to it. And then somebody try to come to the post, oh, it's not really 6 years, 6 months, or 6. I can put it in a date calculation. It's exactly 6 years, 6 months, 6 days. You know, because some people shut down when information comes and reveal itself. They shut down and they don't. Information is information. Information is information. I got an angle of information. Donut Juan has angles. Brother Sanchez, all of these people got channels. They got angles of the information. You're supposed to utilize it all. You're not supposed to look at one side of it. You got to continue to learn. There's deep in-depths of learning. It's a continuance. You know why we fail as a civilization? A discontinuance of learning. Quote that from Ani. Why does the civilization fail? Why are we in such bad conditions? A discontinuance of learning. You know? But getting right back to it, solar eclipse. You got a moon going over the sun, passing over the sun, which is a rare phenomenon. The ancients said you need to go on alert when this happens. There's a lot of shifts in frequencies, polar shifts. The Earth's Kundalini starts doing things. It affects consciousness. You know, Lord Jacob Rothschild, financier, member of the banking family, dies at 87. Is it a coincidence Jacob Rothschild equals 87 in gematria? Is he? Number of the beast equals the same exact thing. I guess it's just a coincidence, guys. When does the coincidences run out? Let's hear Jacob Rothschild talking about his wealth and all of this stuff.
Hammer for a bit since those days in the ghetto. I mean, they spent, I think, the first part of the 19th century making lots of money. I think they spent a lot of the second half of the 19th century spending it. They built altogether 44 houses. They collected like mad. They bought lots of land. And then came the 20th century with 2 world wars, high taxation. And of those 44 houses, only one really remains with its collections intact, visited by 450,000 people a year. And around the actual manor house, there are 5,500 acres of land, which we look after. So there couldn't be a bigger difference between how things were in the ghetto and how things were by the end of the 19th century and how you can start seeing the problems of the 20th century. Now, today, we're blessed. We have this incredible property. We have a collection of 25,000 works of art. We have 400, as I was saying earlier, we have 450,000 visitors. A characteristic, I think, of English heritage property.
Let's just look at how much these people own. You know, he's not even telling you what they really own. He's just telling you what's on display of what they own. You know, I see people talking about transferences of consciousness. We just talked about that. And his character is based on Mr. Burns in The Simpsons. If you wonder who Mr. Burns was based on, it's Jacob Rothschild. So essentially, Mr. Burns in the real world, he probably is gone. He's unalived. They probably sacrificed him, to be honest. And I could go in depth. Go on Patreon to get the full Rothschild breakdown. It's very interesting. I broke that down. Also, I wanted to also highlight, before I get to Beyonce, his clone, Jacob Rothschild's clone, is a guy named Prince Edward, Duke of Kent. Don't this look like the same person as Rothschild? They look exactly alike. Remember, we just talked about people who look alike? It's very, very odd. Very odd stuff. So, all right, let's talk about the 4 horses of apocalypse. So Beyonce, 42 years old. We know that's a derogatory number towards melanated people. The N word equals 42 in gematria. She's coming out with her Act 2 her cowboy country music album. Act 2 equals 42. 42. She's 42 years old. And she's displaying a transhumanistic deity right here. Because anytime you see this in the back, this is the Christos solar emblem on the heads of all of the saints. But she's dressed like a robot to show that the next Christ technology for these people, which is a enigmatic energy, is what the Christos represents. They have their Christ, their Lucifer is difference of how we look at Christ and Lucifer is from a perspective of consciousness. So they're looking at AI transhumanism to save them, so they can transfer their consciousness and further live forever. They can upload their consciousness into a electroencephalogramic state and live in the machine, the actual ghost in the machine, and become anything they want, like a Sims video game. They're scrimmaging different modules of different experimentations with that. You said, how do you sign up for Patreon? All you have to do, Mary, is go to www.patreon.com. Link is in. Yeah, there's the link right there. Honey just put it in there. Thank you, honey. And you sign up for the Patreon. You can just get the $5. It's only $5. And I'm uploading some of the YouTube content. That'll be on the higher tiers, but $5 gets you most of the videos. Said we in South Carolina where you don't need a permit for your gun. Right. You said, you know, the operating system of Google. Yeah. Yeah, you can't say that word on YouTube. So Beyonce, she gets on this white horse. She completes the 4 horses of the apocalypse. So Cowboy Carter, she released that, you know, C and C equals 33 is the third letter. And I put this post up on my Facebook, and so many people got mad at this post. Now, it's apparent she done rode all of these horses throughout the past year. She was on the pale horse, even the stripes, the pale horse as greenish, and she has the green on here. She took a picture with the black horse. One of the first pictures came out was her on the red horse when the war was just starting with Ukraine. And finally, she's on the white horse as of this week. And people still find a way to get goddamn angry when we reveal this info. Oh, is she just modeling? Oh, y'all can just take something and make it something else. So I'm like, all right, y'all. Apparently, you don't understand that Beyonce is a battery for a Illuminati symbol. All of the celebrities are. Yeah, Behold a Pale Horse, William Cooper book. But there's more to it. She took a picture with ex-Destiny Child members, and she has the Freemasonic colors on. And everybody was saying, oh, that's nothing. God damn it. How many times we got to show you this stuff? It don't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter because I don't even expect people to get it anyway. So, speaking of horses, shout out to Jersey in our Skype group chat. He posted something that was interesting out this book. They're describing a horse esoterically. It says, with or without wings, the horse was used to be a common symbol of the soul journey, a trip to the moon or the other world, or to the land of the dead, where the visitor might learn the great secrets of life, death, and magic and return to earth with godlike wisdom. And according to Islamic tradition, Muhammad rode the wonder horse Alborik under the guidance of the angel Gabriel on his famous night journey from Mecca to both Jerusalem and heaven. Bellerophon rode the moon horse Pegasus, who was born of Medusa's blood in an attempt to win immortality. It was claimed that Solomon had 1,000-wing horses and sacrificed 900 of them to God. The horse was a special, impressive sacrifice because of its intrinsic value. Only the rich could afford to slay horses in the prime of their working life. Rome had a sacrificial ceremony in which the October horse was solemnly slain as a surrogate for their ruler. It was known as the cut horse because its tail was cut off and rushed to the temple of Vesta to drip the blood on the goddess altar. Some strange stuff. He also highlighted that the horse is a death symbol in Wales, and we just talked about Wales, and I'm not going to read all of this, but Odin, Odin had a horse called Sleipnir, the symbol of death. So all of these horses and things, so it's a lot of connections to the reason why Beyonce would be on this horse. But recently, Beyonce's gay uncle passed away, and we were highlighting that this was a sacrifice. And I remember when I covered on my Facebook the death of Beyonce's cousin about 2 years ago. I don't know if y'all remember that. You had to be on my old YouTube to remember this. I covered the death of Beyonce's cousin. And Beyonce's family actually reached out to me and asked me to take my gematria post down. Beyonce's first cousin, two of them, reached out to me. I got on the phone with them. They were proved. They actually, one of them told me she thinks that Beyonce was sacrificing her family. She said, well, now that you say what you say, I think she's been sacrificing us. And I said, see, going back to what LeBron James said earlier. Yeah. If y'all was on the old YouTube, y'all remember when I put that info up? I didn't take the post down. Yeah. I don't know if y'all remember that. Yeah, the fam came, was real tight. You said the name of that book. What was the name of that book with the horses? Hold on. Let me give you the name. The name of the book with the horses in it is called The Woman's Dictionary of Symbols by Barbara G. Walker. Barbara G. Walker, The Woman's Dictionary of Symbols. Yeah, they was mad at that shit. It was mad at my ass. So yeah, so her gay uncle passes away, Uncle Butch, and I believe it was a sacrifice because he's dead at 77. His name is Roland Bientz. I don't know what that is. Equals 77. Happens in her 42nd year. We know all of the terms associated with that. Also, Uncle Butch equals 42. And shout out to Call Me Kinfolk. He's the one that put this info out. Shout out to Call Me Kinfolk. Y'all follow Call Me Kinfolk. That goes together, or I think it's all in a sentence, but you can just put it in and follow his gematria page. He does good gematria breakdowns. Excuse me. But Uncle Butch equals 42 in Chaldean gematria, just like her age. Destiny's Child, that's why she's back with Destiny Child. In her 42nd year, get this, in her 42nd year, she just took a reunion photo with Destiny Child. And 42 is a derogatory number for melanated people by the Illuminati order, because, you know, originally 42 was a divine number, 42 laws of Ma'at. So they flip polarity frequencies. But in the 42nd year of her life, Destiny's Child, which equals 42 in Chaldean gematria, she has a reunion. She has a reunion. You said this is the first time in 2 years I have got a notification from your channel. This channel has not existed for 2 years. So I think this channel just became 1 year old. If I'm not mistaken, it's probably not even 1 year old yet, to tell you the truth. Is this channel 1 year old? Yeah, I think it's 1 year old now. I think it's 1 year old. Also, their daughter, Blue Carter, equals 42. Won't be surprised if some things come out with what they're doing with Blue Carter, because I did some breakdown with also Houston and Galveston, Texas. But Kanye's daughter, they was doing some rituals with her. That was kind of wild. I broke that down as well. Kanye's daughter. I don't think I put that in here, but it is what it is. Yeah, that's some stuff going on with that. But it's connected to this financial breakdown because Beyonce's uncle name also equals 161. Cyber attack equals 161. We had the Leave the World Behind movie. The Eye of Horus equals 161. The Whore of Babylon. And I showed you that when they figured out that this supernova that exploded caused this cold spot, this vacant spot to a parallel dimension out there in this region right here, which became named the Mystery Babylon in the constellations, called the Whore of Babylon. That equals 161. Human trafficking equals 161. And stock market and Wall Street, the great crash, equals 161. All of that equals 161. And that number has been circulated throughout the year. What else is going on out here? All right, let's talk about some other stuff before we get into the lecture. How are they inducing magic with the mind control and everything? So I'm about to talk about the video I did on artists that get blonde hair. We have to understand they use these symbols like the hexagram and pentagram and spell casting. Did a video on Patreon called The Physics of Spell Casting. I did that in 2023 or 2. I can't remember, either one. And in that video, I revealed how the pentagram is a charge implosive symbol in magic, and the hexagram is a charge isolator in magic. So there is a top-down ladder of sequencing information, like a rung on DNA strands. And the hexagram and pentagram is one rung of magically the links of symbiotes and DNA. They're using a magical anatomy through symbolism. It's called Illuminatics. So there's a visualization that takes place when it comes to magic. When you visualize sacred geometrical shapes, and then you focus your intention, not attention, your intention in a objective, subjective universe of magical ontology, in these systems of magic, it brings about something called manifestation. So we're talking about the laws of manifestation. So through their science, the hexagram of sacred geometrical engineering on a quantum level, hexes holds secrets. And what that means is, when I say hexes hold secrets, the hexes holds undisclosed information on other units of energy. These are some big notes you should be taking. These are big notes right here. The pentagram of sacred geometrical engineering on a quantum level is where infinite information is shared. So the hex charge isolates, the pentagram charge implodes, and all sorcerers, witches know this, that when you mediate on charge geometry, you are inhibiting wave mechanics in which the hex crystallizes the information and the pent sends the crystallization frequencies out and disperses it into the universe. So a hexagram, pentagram can be used as a Planck threshold interstellarly that will always invite implosion. And sorcerers know that is how you sort the intentional subjectivity of casting spells, and that the hexagram will always stabilize the charge because it is an octave ratio, the opposite of a golden ratio. And in nature, whenever you see these shapes in nature, a hex in nature is used to fix, and a pent in nature, a five angled thing or something in nature is used to send the frequency out, whether it's flowers or anything. So this is the physics of it. This is the physics of it. You said hexes for X's and Texas. Interesting. So if you never understood why you would see that in black magic shows, there is a science to it. There's a science, and we did a full video. That's just a excerpt. Go on Patreon to get that full video. The physics of spell casting 1, 2, and 3. We did a 3-video series. Okay, so the reason why I say that, most of these people are under mind control. Let's talk about MK Ultra real quick before we get into the lecture today. We got a lot in the lecture. It's going to be very mind consuming. So MK Ultra started with the CIA researching the occult, in which I always highlight, going back to my old channel. Let me exit some of this stuff. Get this out the way. Let me show you something. Going back to my old channel, I used to talk about Michael Aquino, and we discussed some of this on Juan's channel, the One-on-One podcast. Make sure you guys check out that new video he's about to release on the Cetus ritual we did. But Michael Aquino, and we were picking at his eyebrows. He's got these satanic eyebrows. yeah. So this guy, who was a lieutenant in our military, was the head of the Temple of Set. He was in the Church of Satan in San Francisco, but he said that the Church of Satan was too much of a social group. They weren't trying to really do magic. So he got kind of tired of the Church of Satan, and he started the Temple of Set, and then he took the head of the Church of Satan's daughter with him, which is the clone of Taylor Swift today. Her name is Zena LaVey, Antoine LaVey's daughter. Remember, we opened up the video talking about how these people look alike. And we showed you the movie, The Devil Conspiracy. Interesting. It's associated because this whole year has been about Taylor Swift. But this is Zena LaVey right here on your right. And basically, Michael Aquino stole his ex-partner's daughter and made her the priestess of his new Temple of Set, where they practice something called the Zephyr vampire magical system, the physics of vampirism. We just did a video on Donut's channel, which he'll be releasing soon, called The Illuminati Vampires. And what they do, they practice utilizing the solar plexus to reverse, because chakras are supposed to spin. Chakras are supposed to have a spin orientation. Males are supposed to spin their chakras clockwise. Females naturally have a spin of chakras counterclockwise, and you're supposed to reverse the spin orientation of your chakras to begin to open you up to those androgyne aeons. But that's other physics that we don't have to get into. But let's just say they figured out a way to hone in on the solar plexus, which is the chakra of desires, of sex and physical desires. And they use this astro vampirism to reverse how the spin orientation of the solar plexus chakra, called the Swadhisthana. The Swadhisthana is the Vedic term, and they teach you how to become a living black hole of energy, meaning whoever you get around, you begin to suck their energy, so you become a light vampire to the people. So you get around people, and all types of stuff starts to go crazy. It was in a movie called The Cooler. It's a movie called The Cooler. It's a gambling movie. I want you to go back and get this old movie, The Cooler. Because in the movie, it was this guy that kept winning. He kept winning, and they got the CIA or some secret agency hooked up the Vegas, whatever the name of the place that they were gambling at, hooked them up with this guy in the occult. And basically, whenever they send this person in, they're called the cooler. When someone starts to win, when gambling in Vegas, the cooler comes in and automatically the person stops winning. It's like they shut the energy down of the person, whatever vibratory level the person is that's attracting the karma to get that wealth. They send the cooler in, and as soon as the cooler get around you, it averts and shuts down that vibratory level you're on. Now you can get a book called Psychic Vampire Codex? Yeah. By Michelle Bellinger. Now the person was I guess a male first, now is a female. So that was kind of weird. I was looking at a video of it, but you don't got to worry about that. They got some good information in this book. Don't worry about what they doing. They got some good information. The Psychic Vampire Codex talks about that. Get that book, then get another book called Psychic Self-Defense by Dion Fortune. This is a must-have book. It's one of the big scholarly books on psychic defense. Now, Dion Fortune, the reason why she's important, when she wrote this book, she was a part of the Golden Dawn, one of the top magical societies in the world, in the whole world, in history, that was recognized in modern time, that Aleister Crowley was actually a part of, but they kicked his ass out. He was doing all types of weird shit. They like, you get the fuck on out of here. And he started the OTO, the Orders Templars Ori, which developed a cult as well. But he took some aspects of the Hermetic Golden Dawn. Then there was another guy that was a part of the Hermetic Golden Dawn before Crowley called Pascal B. Randolph. He's actually the father of occultism in America, melanated man, who started his own school of magic in America. And of course, around that times in the 1800s, they didn't look at, melanated people a certain way. So they really didn't like him, but they tolerated him because he had this science of magic. He had this science that was so, needed at that time, that they allowed him to do whatever he wanted to do. But H.P. Blavatsky, that was her main enemy, was Pascal B. Randolph. But Aleister Crowley and Dion Fortune and them learned from Pascal B. Randolph's doctrines. He wrote a lot of books. He's the father. Pascal B. Randolph is the father of Western occultism. And they got all of the Theosophical Society is based on his information, if you didn't know, even Crawley and them. So I'm giving you an order to how all of this magic stuff came together. He started the Hermetic Brotherhood and the Rosicrucian. He's the first living Rosicrucian to announce he's a Rosicrucian in America. You said females' chakras spin differently than males. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They spin counterclockwise. Let me just read what you guys saying. So Dion Fortune, the reason why she's important, she got raped. She got raped, I think, in the Hermetic Golden Dawn in a ritual. So they were doing some type of goddess ritual, and then she disagreed with some of the stuff they were doing tantrically. So they just grabbed her and raped her. So she broke off from them and she went to the Rosicrucians. Then she wrote a book called Psychic Self-Defense and let out all of the secrets of the order. So they say is nothing like a woman that's scorned. Hell ain't worse than a woman that's scorned. So this book is one of the top scholarly books that'll probably take you a couple of years to really break through the information on how this stuff goes. But you can protect yourself from those vampiric attacks. But this is how MK Ultra started. So all of these traditional magical orders led to the Temple of Satan or the Church of Satan and the Temple of Set. Those are mockeries or mock nuclei orders of the original ones. And then you get these characters that pop up later on that we tend to know about today. Let me exit some of this. So let's get back to Michael Aquino. So MK Ultra in America was developed through him taking the science out of those scholarly materials that I just listened from the Rosicrucians, Hermetic Golden Dawn, Order Templars Ori. There's Aeon Mayat. Kenneth Grant started some stuff too, and he put it all together and he created this new magic system called Zephyr, which is a psychic vampiric system manipulating the mind and the intent of will. The U.S. comes and hires him, brings him in the military, and he starts the first mind control department in U.S. history in the military. If you didn't know, this guy right here that used to be in the Church of Satan. Now, how the history goes, this is how it goes. MK Ultra started with the CIA researching the occult. Mind control is just a hypnotic hex. There's psychotronic harassment on these people that we call celebrities and regular public people sometimes. They have something called the Voice the Skull V2K technology, where they can put God's voice. They can send these frequencies in your head, make you think you're listening to your own mind. It's really them toying around with you. But they have psychotronic harassment and hallucinations that are made from modern forms of demonic possession. Even computers today come from occult research. The first computer was created, it was called ENIAC. Was to prove that demons weren't real. So they tried to make a communication with demons. The first computer was made to try to make contact with demons. Let me see if they're going to pull this up and be truthful about it. This is one of the first computers. Hold on. First computer communicated demons. See if they're going to do the right thing. Yeah, there is a optimization system called a daemon in computer programming, by the way, called computer demons or computer daemons. You see, they may not put it in here, but you guys can look it up in another search engine. But literally, I'm telling you, Charles Babbage, that's his name. Let me see, let me pull it up with him. He's the father of the computer. Here it goes. The time that Charles Babbage tried to summon the devil. Here we go. Here we go. Charles Babbage was one of the fathers of computing, but in addition to his fascination with mathematics, hold on, they're trying to block it, and engineering, he had a curiosity with the occult. Starting at an early age, Babbage wondered if the existence of God and paranormal phenomena could be proven scientifically. So he started by trying to summon the devil while researching famous scientists who believe in the supernatural. He came across a ghost club, a society of paranormal researchers that boasted Charles Babbage as a one-time member. Hold on. Said he wanted to see if God was real. It says trying to call upon the devil, as Anthony Hyman points out in so he has a book called Charles Babbage, Pioneer of the Computer. This was an ordinary endeavor for a schoolboy. Hold on. It's a diabolical experiment. So y'all can look this stuff up. I'm just trying to make sure you know I'm not just talking just to talk. So this guy who's a pioneer of computers today tried to summon a demon. So originally the computer was made to try to make contact with demons. This is one of the first computers here. And think about it. This technology is a portal. This is a portal. Shout out to Juan. I see you up in there, bro. Don't worry. I gave a shout out to you, bro. So the technology we're using is a portal today. Juan says he succeeded. You got the receipts. God damn it. You said he isn't the father of computing. They always lying, of course. But he's the computer today. He's one of the pioneers of it. Can't deny that. Now, if we want to look at the computer esoterically, it's something different. So computers came from occult research. So our contemporary world is still supernatural. Everything is just hidden. And these people have a nihilistic and godless type of mindset. And what they're doing is desensitizing us to their hellish way of life. And people are being forced to either truly reject the world or lose their souls to comfort and complacency. So this sorcery surrounds us and is making the majority to grow more and more insane of what's actually truly happening. So all of this stuff is programming from the celebrities on down. We spoke about the physics of the hexagram and the pentagram just now, of how they use that. But there's something they were doing, you know, when they released Andre 3000 new album. There was something they were doing. Now they just announced they're about to come out with a Good Times remake as a cartoon. And I knew this was a ritual because they got the mother here with blonde hair and they got the youngest son with this blonde hair. And I'm telling you right now, look at their faces. It's indicating mind control. You see those eyes bucking like that. But let me play you something. I made a short little documentary on the blonde hair in Hollywood with these artists. We played it on Patreon. I'm gonna play it for you now.
This is Ani Osaru of the Spiritual Shade Room in the True Occult newspaper, and I was wondering if anyone has seen this cartoon from the early 2000s called Class of 3000 that came on Cartoon Network, voiceovered by Andre 3000. In the show, it showcases one episode of this little boy with blonde hair selling his soul to the Illuminati elite classes. And the reason why I wanted to do this video, I made previous YouTube videos about male celebrities, especially in the Black community, when they would dye their hair blonde, automatically they would go under some type of MK Ultra, indicating that they're under some type of hypnotism, and there will be humiliation rituals that follow soon behind them dyeing their hair blonde. And it goes back to the early superhero movie of the 1980s, or I think it's late 90s, Meteor Man, where it showcased a class of boule black men raising these boys up with blonde hair, showing that there will be MK Ultra mind control slaves in the future with celebrities with blonde hair.
All right, I want you guys to listen to this show. It's called Class of 3000 that Andre 3000 did the voiceover of. And you know, he just released his album Blue Sun this year. But listen to this song and listen to, or look at the symbolism in the background. You're going to see a lot of why the blonde hair has something to do with MK Ultra.
Rather spend time discussing your friends and examining their feelings, or we can visit the set of your new music video.
So, I hear you like to be a star. Well, the price of fame is not cheap. I hope you've got what it takes. But all we want is your soul. Give it to me. All we want is your soul. Give it to me.
So, shout I got that little D make a beat, make it hot fat. Like a rabbit, Volkswagen, or a Cadillac. I'ma show you how to do a record contract. You earn it the old-fashioned way.
I also wanted to show, okay, hold on, because he bucking his eyes a little bit. But I also wanted to show the reason why he has this pants on, these cow pants. In the Judaic text, they talk about the Goyim, which are people they regard as animals. They regard the Gentiles as animals. Anyone who isn't of the Judaic faith is called the Goyim. So the cow is symbolized as the Goyim, and he has these cow pants. So they're symbolizing who do they look at as the Goyim. And you know, the hip hop industry, the record labels are controlled by them folks, you know.
I'm already gold in the hood, pass the plates, and sell a million records. I can't wait, and gonna do whatever it takes till I'm straight. Got soul.
Sell it. All we want is your soul. Give it to me. All we want is your soul. Give it to me.
Get him, shawty, get him, shawty, get him, shawty, get him, shawty, get it to him, get it to him, get it to him, wham. Get him, shawty, get him, shawty, get him, shawty, get him, shawty, get it to him, get it to him, get it to him, wham. Get him, shawty, get him, shawty, get him, shawty.
And you see, he kept snapping his finger to indicate hypnotism. So when you see Illuminati vampires on Donut's channel, you're going to see why the hypnotism and the mesmerism with the mind control. So when I saw this blonde hair, that looked like just like that boy that was up in that Andre 3000 cartoon from Cartoon Network. You see? Peace, peace. I see y'all up in there. So you better know what's going on with this MK Ultra, man. This shit is real serious. Some real serious stuff. Okay, let me see. What else happened? Okay, so something else happened with Trump. Something happened with Trump, of course. Hold on, let me refresh. Let me refresh real quick. So Trump says something over the weekend. I'm going to play it. And it may have something to do with the eclipse date. So I want you to keep an eye out for what's going to happen with this eclipse date. But I'm going to play it for you nonetheless.
Is building a couple of massive plants.
Hold on, let me see. Okay, here we go.
China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line.
You got the dumbass in the back. That ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen. But, you know, these people so pro, whatever. I don't care about either of the political factions. It's all a big show. But I'm going to show you, he's about to say something and it caught headlines in the news.
And you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
So he said it's supposed to be a bloodbath for the country. You know, they reference it to the whole thing like that. But war, leave the world behind, talk about civil war. Then they're saying if he's not elected back in office, you know, it's going to be hell to pay if Trump doesn't get back in the. I don't know. When he say bloodbath, yeah, you could take that with a grain of salt and just say he was referencing that in context of what he was talking about. But you better keep an open eye because this eclipse is very weird. This election year is very weird. I wouldn't be surprised if it is some type of civil war that pops off. I don't know if it's going to be like how the movie is portraying, but just like how they stormed the Capitol, if he isn't put in office, I believe there is going to be something significant that happens. You best believe that. So keep your eyes open when he said bloodbath. I think he was instructed to say that. All right, let's talk about what's going on today. Let's get into the lecture. We talked enough. Let's get into the lecture. We went through a lot of info, and I appreciate y'all being patient. Let's talk about today. So we're discussing soul elementals. We went through a little bit of breaking that down earlier. But there is a buildup to understanding our mental plane. Like there's something inside of us from a subquantum level. It's called a jewel, Joule. And it's interesting because the soul is called the jewel of God, Jewel, the jewel. But there's a quantum atomic structure called a jewel that is embedded within each person. It's a secret tech or not so secret tech. And it's really something that deals with cosmic energy. It's about mastering your emotional field accesses to this cosmic energy. And through the access, it can be bridged during moments of strong emotions that we have. So uncontrolled emotion renders this ability inconsistent. And just in case you don't know what you are, you have to understand that we all are potential magnetic emotional energy created by the stillness of the dielectric plane of the helix of non-emotion. So essentially, we all are a jewel of this God-like entity. So we shouldn't sell ourselves for anything in the world like these celebrities, because we are priceless. This design, this godly design of the mind and consciousness is unique and built with these jewels. And I believe that this presence that we call the logos, planetary logos, or the cosmic primal God, it steps back and observes us to see if we can activate these jewels, sort of like in the movie Star Wars, the midichlorians, to see if we can tap into that God level of consciousness. And the jewels are nothing but elementals, by the way. Shout out to Bro Sanchez. He was saying in one of his videos that he believes that the neuronal circuits in our body is either the end or entrance to a star. So what we are the other side, the outer inner universe circuitry of what the cosmos what the cosmos is through us. You said Steven Universe does it? I never saw Steven Universe. I've never seen it. That's interesting though, if it is like that. So this is the cosmic web. Me and Juan talked about Madam Web in the new movie Spaceman in the web. We also talked about this book that I want you to get, the Ophanic Revelation. Shout out to Juan for putting me up on this book. Great information in it. I want you to get it as well. It's Ophanic Revelation. Hold on. That's a good picture for the elementals, but this is what the book looks like. So get this book, The Angelic Science in the End of Time. This is one of the top priming magical material to unlock the elemental physics in their nature, because there's chapters in there on John Dee and Edward Kelly. And there's chapters on the 30 aethers. The 30 aethers, and this connects to the elemental science as well. Whereas it reads that these things called the calls, C-A-L-L-S, are also keys in the sense that they open or unlock powerful structural components of one's universe. The first two calls activate a control panel inside of us using a central cross that binds the elemental quadrants of this thing called the Great Table together. Then the next four calls are the elemental angles, and the last 12 are the remaining sub-angles of the elemental quadrants of the table. So in addition, there's a last call or key that unlocks the 30 aethers or spirit levels. But there's a total of 48 calls. It's interesting, there's 48 calls in the book, because the eclipse represents the ultimate marriage of male and female, solar, lunar, king and queen energy. And the eclipse this year is on 4/8. And in the book, there's 48 calls. And there's a book called The 48 Laws of Power. So essentially, are they telling us subliminally how to take power over the realm? Yeah, 48 angelic keys, right. He said those letters in the book are in the language of the angels that Enoch taught. Yeah, it's all about the Enochian science. So it's crazy, studying this information, because a lot of different spiritual instances that I went through, I've seen things that I couldn't describe. I've seen alien languages. I've seen these things, really. It's like a white light that, okay, so it's when I go into a psychedelic state, there's this liquidating white etherical light that I call etherical technology. It's like a syntax driving of a light. And what I mean with syntax is a language that they're using, a language that you see. So you're not hearing the language, you're seeing it. And the state that I went through, it was made of sound. It is sound, but you don't hear it, you see it when you're in this trance state. And I think the entire point of my encounter from their perspective is to teach you this syntax driving white language. It looks like a translucent, clear ambience of bright internal white light that reflects this continuous melting of ice before your eyes. Looks like ice. I was trying to describe it, but there's a high vibrational sound within me that I hear, kind of like how when an airplane is climbing, you know, different levels of the tropostratosphere, it's like a white noise. And there's these fractal entizations that speaks sound and light through curvatures of this liquid crystal that has a presence when you're looking at it of relaying psychic information to you. And I called them the Awa. Now they're going to call them the Oppenheims or the Enochian angels, but I just had a different experience. I called them they told me they're the Awa, so I gave them whatever they told me they say they were. But there is a kairos I speak about in my classes. It's the right astrological time when a constellation is directly over the ley line, the portal vortex of the region that you live in, that opens up a circuit network to have these psychic encounters with this entitization that I'm speaking of. You see? I don't care if the earth is flat. I don't give a damn if the earth is flat. I'm going to get off of earther. Y'all can have the earth is flat and spear type shit. I don't care about it. I'm going to get off of earth. Y'all can have the earth. I'm into these interdimensional planes and understanding it. So, like I said, it's what you call bilocation. A bilocation is what the movie Dune, when you go see the movie Dune, which I'm gonna break down on Patreon. I want you to go see the first Dune, though. Go see the first one, not the brand new one right here. Go see this one. Then go watch the other two. And get the book by Frank Herbert. But the whole entire movie is them trying to acquire this ability called the Cusack Hatterack. The Cusack Hatterack. And the Cusack Hatterack is a Kabbalistic attainment that Master Farah Muhammad achieved. And I probably some other people, but Master Farah Muhammad. He achieved it. And they don't really have a good photo. I don't even know they got a photo of this guy, but Wallace Farad Muhammad, where they said that this guy attained the ability by bringing the Sufic information of the Kabbalah over to America. They made a movie on him called was a stranger at the White House. I think a stranger, is a stranger at the White House? Is a stranger at the Pentagon? Maybe it's the stranger at the Pentagon. I can't remember. I think it's that. But whatever, and they made another movie called the what was the Keanu Reeves movie? When he was an alien. The Day the Earth Stood Still. This was about Fard Muhammad. The Day the Earth Stood Still. I heard they about to come out with another one. And in the movie, it's some extraterrestrial stuff, but this extraterrestrial possessing Keanu Reeves wrote an equation on the board at the University of California, Berkeley. Or was it UCLA? It's either UCLA or California, Berkeley, one of them. And none of the physicists could solve this problem. Fard Muhammad did that in real life, and they said they haven't solved the problem yet. But it's the Coulomb-Hatterack is the problem, or the equation, so to speak. And basically is learning, like in Dune. They also showed it in the last Star Wars movie. One with Rey in it. What was it called? The last movie with the girl. What is that? The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. In the movie, Luke Skywalker attains Coulomb-Hatterack, where he's able to be two places at once. You see him two places. He's meditating on another world, but he holographically projects himself to another world that Rey is on, and they thought it was him. And he used this ability. So his ability to project yourself in two places at once, it's called Coulomb-Hatterack. And that's what's going on with these interdimensional realms that these occultists are studying. Real stuff, real stuff. So, okay, let me get back to what I was talking about before we got on that. So the Ophanic revelations is the same thing I was experiencing with the Kairos and the elementals. And essentially what I'm saying is that through these revelations, let me just go through some stuff that Thomas Bridges was speaking about. And then I'll break you into the elemental information, but it all blends in and it's profound to understand all of it together. But it's good to get that book to start with. So in the book by Thomas Bridges, they're going to speak about these calls. Now, the calls or the aethers are layers of spirit zones that incapacitates the entire body and makes a person on the level of the Devic, which the word Deva is just a Vedic word for angel. So the angelic vibrational, your body becomes a angelic vibrational anode to the gates. Whereas through these gates, Thomas said that he saw these tornadoes of light appear over Arizona when he was in a meditation in the Sedona Desert. And these tornadoes that he saw in this psychic vision he had infinite eyes in it, kind of like how they describe these angels. And I've seen this on the psychedelic realms many times where they describe these angels having a bunch of eyes. Hold on, let me see. the striatum of having these eyes, kind of like how they show this wheel here. There's just a bunch of eyes. You can see it in the psychedelic or psychedelic states. That's all I'm gonna say. Some of y'all who's been there, you'll see it. So he saw these tornadoes with these eyes, and this is a rare conscious field that a person can enter, and it's only for initiates to encounter what exactly the angels are, which we spoke about. They're plasma entities. And what plasma they're plasma beings. The angels are plasma beings, and the elementals make up the plasma. They're complex plasma beings. And these plasma beings we call angels, or these entities, are entanglement machines that are able to self-organize themselves, just like superclusters out in space. So there are bound entities that persist through time, living in sempiternality. It means they're able to be in bilocation in two areas of time at once, or numerous areas of time at once is what angels are. So they see movement in and around their own internal structures created by electromagnetic fields, and they can inhabit countless plasmoid regions within themselves and project themselves out by voids, kind of like organs in animal bodies. So it's just real complex to understand this stuff, but you got to be on that level to get it. And the particles within the plasma they have can interact in concert with other particles. So they have the mysterious abilities, these angels, to move through objects without changing form. Since in quantum mechanics, the phenomenon associated with solitons is sometimes called tunneling, taking place with two organs, with plasma, there is no universally agreed mathematical precise set of defining qualities of a living entity, but most accounts include growth, reproduction, response to stimuli, and the ability to perceive and process energy. But from such considerations as these, when it deals with plasma, it becomes rather obvious that those warning of the dangers that artificial intelligence networks might transduce higher dimensional entities and intelligences. Certain things like Elon Musk has said, like, for example, they're not indulging in mere idle speculation. There are networks that are by nature like plasmas, electromagnetic in nature. So these are literally what, in a sense, when we're describing angels, these beings are what they're creating in artificial intelligence, because they behave sort of how plasma does in the universe. It's essentially the same thing. So there are magical lineages on this planet of families of the occult elite that know how to enter into the eighth circuitry states of the theta rhythmic brain waveforms to enter what I call the astro-etheric atmosphere above us, or the conscious fields. And to understand what elementals are, one must understand the meta-autonomy of thoughts and how they envelop. So before we get to that, we have to understand that from that level, which is nothing but waveform physics that we teach on Patreon. So when we examine the origin and formation of thought, we are really entering into a consideration of the life found upon the plane of the mind. Atoms of substance found upon what that plane, as well as any other plane, are called elementals. So when a thought is experienced within the human mind, It is because myriads of mental elementals, that is, atoms of mental substances, magnetically join together. And the end result of their union is the creation of a thought form. Indeed, a thought form is the assemblage of countless elemental lives geometrically configured in accordance with the nature of the ideal that was intended by the thinker, or what is called the soul. In other words, a thought form comes into being because the will of the thinker energetically influences these elementals to assemble themselves in a certain way so as to accurately reflect the intended ideal sent forth by the soul. Therefore, every thought experience within human mind is in reality a geometric construction of uncounted atoms of elemental life. The doctrine of presentation provides the foundation for a theory of memory and concept formation. Memory was seen to be stored in something called the fantasia. So there's a word you need to look into, P-H-A-N-T-A-S-I-A. Now, my first lecture was on, and this is Hellenistic philosophy, but my first lecture was on the Fantasticon Pneuma. The Fantasticon Pneuma comes from this word fantasia. You guys see this? I'm gonna have questions real soon. I know we're in the deep end of this stuff, but it's very interesting. So this fantasian, this memory is stored there. There's things called conceptions in the mind called enomatas. So a conception is, Latin term is enomata, that seems to be the collections or patterns of stored fantasia. So the ancients distinguished, there's a difference between fantasia, phantaston, the fantasticon, and the phantasma. The phantaston is the object in Hellenistic philosophy producing what fantasia is to memory. And a phantasticon is a fantasia which does not come from a real object. It's produced by the imagination. So imagination was explained as the manipulation of mental content by taking elementals from stored experience and enlarging and shrinking and transposing the negating parts of the fantasia. It is possible for people to imagine monsters. Thus, one can produce magical mental content which do not need a real object. For example, we can create a mermaid by transposing a body of a fish onto a young woman's torso. Although mermaids and monsters don't exist, we need to explain how non-existing things can be the object of thought and even produce desire or attraction. So the ancients did this by drawing a distinction between the imagined object, which is called the phantasma, the mermaid, and the mental construct, which is the fantasticon, which is the thought that gives us the mermaid. So we are not attracted to the ideal or mental image of the mermaid, but to the intentional object of the ideal, namely the mermaid herself. So we enter something called phenomenology. And phenomenology is understanding what the unum model of the West Penry papers are. So here's another thing you need to look into. Research the West Penry papers, the unum model. West Penry is spelled W-E-S, and you space P-E-N-R-E. In the unum model of the West Penry papers, we see how thought formed from elementals form a multiverse. So there's physicists that explain and magicians that explain how a multiverse is formed through thoughts, through the construction of elemental lives. So thoughts, like other fantasia, are physical states of something called soul pneuma. There is a characteristic in rational presentation that seems to be the structure or syntax. Something is said about something, and consequently the thought now has a meaning. And if it is a proposition, if it has truth value associated with it, then when we talk about simple thoughts, when expressed in language, we'll speak of three elements. One, the object, which is the thing signified. Two, the sound, which is the signifier. And three, the linguistic mental content, which is what is said. When thoughts are conceptualized, some parts aren't ever filled out. Those are called intentionalities of directive consciousness in its particularity. So the latter, the intelligible content of the thought that isn't filled out, is called a lekton. L-E-K-T-O-N. L-E-K-T-O-N. Y'all silence some people in the chat talking about Hermes' son and grandson. We're in class right now. This is a class. We've already went through that stuff. So you can hold those questions to the end. I don't want my chat going off topic from all of that. We have order around here. Just don't want people talking about Gnostic incest and stuff. I don't know what y'all talking about. So my moderators, take care of that, please. So a lekton, which is said to subsist, which is it survives or exists in the mental construct with the rational presentation or thought, it is the content which is either true or false, not the object or the sound. So a lekton is not a corporeal entity like a thought or our soul. It seems that the lekton is a theoretical entity which loosely corresponds to the contemporary notion of a proposition, a statement, or perhaps even the meaning of an utterance. And it is this lekton that makes the sounds of a sentence to be more than just sounds. And the doctrine of the lekton has generated much controversy in current scholarship, but it's recognized to be an important link. So this, when we recognize more than sounds, when we're hearing someone speak, like me speaking right now, without your mind processing lektons, you would just hear a bunch of sounds. It would just be me making sounds. This is some deep stuff. So when that happens, these lektons give rise. So we're talking about the physics of thoughts. How do we think? Nobody ever breaks this stuff down. So how do thoughts come into form? What is the process of thinking? We're giving you some philosophy on it. So once you have lektons, something occurs in the mind called assent. A-S-S-E-N-T, assent. Assent occurs when the mind accepts the fantasia as true, or more accurately, it accepts the lekton as true. So assent is the assent is a specific human activity that is, it assumes the power of reason, this human activity. Although the truth value of a proposition is binary, which means true or false, there are various levels of recognizing what truth is. The observer should look at opinion to the soul as weak or false beliefs outside the self. So all of your opinions are a weak, false belief that's outside of self. So every time you have an opinion, it's very weak to have it. So the observer avoids opinions by withholding assent when conditions do not permit a clear and certain grasp of the truth of the matter. This also happens when magicians and sorcerers are scrying. So when I said earlier that I'm having the psychedelic, I'm having these psychic experiences with consciousness, I'm teaching you right now of how the physics of thoughts, it formulates what is to be accepted as truth and what is to be accepted as the craziness that happens and this dispersing of particles and intertangling of different energies. Yeah, everything is mental. So I'm describing the process of that mental to accept what is true and what isn't. And this is formulated through elementals. So when these sorcerers and mental and magicians are scrying, they're usurping conscious fields hyperdimensionally, and they're offered presentations of thought forms that are experienced in perceptual ideal circumstances, and are so, it becomes so clear to them from doing it enough times, and it becomes distinct from them doing it practically. So you have to be practical in doing it, that they only see real objects after a while that was, beforehand just forming lectons that had not yet become ascented. So now that these lectons have become ascented, it becomes a real object hyperdimensionally. And this is how a collectic thought is formed. What is a collectic thought? Collectic means something fit to grasp by the imagination, which means you get clarity through this thing called, it's called a cataleptic. I'm sorry, I'll call it collectic. Cataleptic, K-A-T-A-L-E-P-T-I-C. And this cataleptic thought is the mental act of apprehending truth. So for a mental picture of how this works, compare the fantasia to an open hand and compare the ascent to a closing hand. Then this catalepsis is the closed fist. That means it is the knowledge that's grasped by the other hand. So these steps are how we affirm our thoughts in mental picture that is assured in the recesses of the subconscious. So we got through that portion. So we just described how to affirm our thoughts. If that was boring, then you got to find a way to get through it. Now we're going to speak about these elementals, and then I'm going to have a question. We're going to do probably 20 minutes. I might not go through all of the information. We might have to do a part 3. All right. So to understand soul elemental illuminatics, there's Sanskrit examples of esoteric logic and physics. I don't know who Kiramio is, Cherry. I don't know who that is, but I was really just trying to not have people talk about Gnostic incest. If y'all talking, that's fine, but I just don't want nobody to talk about no Gnostic incest. You said, I asked my higher self what's moving the planet, the stars of the universe. A voice said, you're moving. Interesting. So to understand soul elemental illuminatics, there's a Sanskrit example of esoteric logic and physics. As an analogy, is called the primitive Manu, M-A-N-U. That's the name you have to understand that makes up elementals. And this Manu may be compared to a white light that would contain all other rays of light, giving birth to all other rays of light by passing through the prism of differentiation and evolution. And this pertains to the esoteric and metaphysical teachings that the Manu is said to be the builder that develops everything in its cycle. So esoterically, every Manu is an anthropomorphized patron of its special cycle or round, but is the personified ideal of the divine realm of thoughts. In Hermeticism, it's called the Pymander. Each of these Manus, therefore, is a special god in the realm of thoughts that create and fashions all that appears during its own respective cycle. With Manus, it contains the potentiality of all thinking forms, which will be developed on Earth in a particular source. Every Manvatara has thus his own Manu. Of Manvatara is a cycle of being. And the Manu is of various other, it's a Vedic term. Other Manus are rather of the Manasa, which is, it means thinking beings, the beings that move the rim of thought, which is called the Kalpas as well in the Vedic text. So the Manu is the synthesis, perhaps the single consciousness in the same sense, while at the very same time, there's different cells of which the body is composed of that are different and varying of consciousness. There is still a unit of consciousness, which is the thinking or the main thoughts of the man. That's what the Manu represents. So that should explain that. So the Manus were said to have emanated from Manly P. Hall's the first root race. We had 7 root races. I believe we're like in the 4th or 5th root race. The 6th, since I think the 6th race, we get a second spine in the evolution of human beings. This is calculation by the ancients. And then like the 7th root race, we're supposed to disappear completely from form and re-enter formless states of energy. We're no longer going to have form anymore. So the Manus said to have come from the first root race. They were called the lunar Petries. The lunar Petries were creators of the first race, the spirit of mankind. They were the progenitors of mankind. So when Earth was on a vibratory level, before it was physical, these Manus existed. So the Manus birthed humanity, having become the first men consciousness. They give birth to other consciousness by evolving their shadows and their astral selves. They not only give birth to humanity, but to all animals and other creatures. So they're called the progenitors or the fathers of the bodies of the physical realm, or these Manus. I can go deeper into that, but we'll save that for another time. All right, where am I? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I didn't even read some of this other stuff. But we'll just circle back, cover these things. All right, so we have these energies. When we're speaking of the elementals, we got these energies I'm going to speak of. The elementals, let us remember, are not miniature human beings sitting around on toadstools in enchanted forests, but are the centuries of energy and force in the astral light. So you have to understand what astral light is. We did a class on it on the human elemental. There's an article you can look into called Elementals and Karma in the Conversations of Occultism series. They're using this term called the elemental world as a synonym for the astral light. So the astral light is the elemental world. And the astral light tells us that there is a very important connection between karma of humanity and the elemental world. The latter has become a strong factor in the karma of the human race, being unconscious, automatic, and photographic. This unconscious force automatically records and is imprinted with all the action, thoughts, and desires of men. So this astral light has all of the actions, desires, and thoughts of men. So being unconscious and only acting according to the natural laws of his being, the elemental world is a powerful factor in the workings of karma. So in the laws governing elementals Your thoughts do not reach the elementals. You do not hear or see these elementals, but this does not invalidate or contradict any of what we have already said, but it is merely a reminder that elementals are not personal or individually intelligent entities, with the exception of certain unmentioned higher classes, which are far beyond our comprehension anyway. And that's what I spoke about earlier with that syntax light. But are energetic centers from which the human thought only in a blind and automatic senses. It blindly and automatically senses these responses in human thought. What is the metaphysical meaning of nature, which comes from the word nature in Egypt in the Kamite text? The term nature, which was mentioned frequently in theosophical teachings, is misunderstood. There's a lot of masters that came forth, and in the original teachings of nature, separate from how the social orders of the world presumes it, they refer to nature as 99% as a synonym to the entirety of the manifested universe, including all its various planes, rims, and dimensions. So nature ain't talking about no trees, rivers, volcanoes, air in the sky. It's breaking down the entirety of the manifested universe. That's what nature is. So they aren't talking about physical nature. When we're speaking about elementals, that is the Disney version of it. So you're getting a Disney understanding of what the elementals are. So this nature is philosophical and metaphysical. It is something that has led to the concept in the pantheism of being extremely misunderstood and misrepresented. True pantheism is not the worship of a physical, objective nature, but rather it is the recognition that the universe and everything in it is one divine whole, such the Greek word pantheos, meaning all divine, all deity, and the divinity of everything. And this explanation may help us understand more clearly what it is actually meant by the term the nerves of nature or the nature spirits. While it's true that the whole of physical objective nature is pervaded by elementals of various degrees and sorts, the term nature spirits as another name for elementals really means that they're talking about the spirits that exist everywhere throughout the universe. That means all actions or the automation of actions of thought, words, movement takes place, and it is imprinted on these tablets of astral light, which is called the universal memory or the Akasha, also referred to as the book of life in the Bible. And when we're talking sylphs, salamanders, gnomes, undines, all of these things, they're the celestial musicians that have been speaking to us since the beginning of time. They're the floaters in the Akashic substance that is the nearest to our souls, devoid of conscientiously, that's a misspelling. So, okay, so the talk of one place being more full of elementals than another place is also wrong. There is more of space in one spot than the space of another. Elementals are everywhere, just as we could fill out the air of Earth. They obey the laws peculiar to themselves, and they move on the currents only of ether. So if now and then they make themselves manifest, it does not hence follow the additional number that have been attracted to the spot, but only the conditions that have altered it to cause some disturbance. So we work with something called tamasic, sattvic, and rajaistic energy. So you have these things called gunas. So these are this is the science of the real elementals, is all in Vedic astrology. We're bringing Kalini on the channel. In the next video we have on the channel, we're going to bring Kalini to break down Vedic astrology for you guys. It's going to be great. So these gunas is the tamas, rajas, and sattvas. And they're connected to how we connect to the elementals. So the third dimension is something called Samkhya, in Samkhya philosophy, 3 energy states. The sattva is happiness, wisdom, self-control, all of these things you see on the screen. I don't got to read it. But the sattva represents light. The rajas represent motion, and the tamas represent darkness. Now, we overuse as a human race the tamas, which is ignorance, slothfulness, and confusion. The tamas is overused. That's why it becomes ignorant. That's why most of the world is ignorant, because we overuse the tamas, which means that most of the elementals within us are in this dark state of the tamas. See Homer Simpson here. Which means that we don't have control over the elementals. How do we get control and make the elementals work for us? That's one of the most important sciences of occultism, and it's through the third eye. It's through the third eye. So what does the third eye do? The third eye is called the destroyer. The magician or the adept is trying to force the elementals contained within thought forms that we explain through Fantasia, lectons, in a sense. They're trying to force the elementals to transfer their allegiance from the devas or the angels to our soul. Only the soul is capable of creating a abdication. And this is via the utilization of our third eye. What is to say when we mean the third eye? The third eye is used as a destroyer. It's supposed to destroy the bonds of loyalty held by the mental elementals toward the deva of the mental plane, the angel of the mental plane. So we need to examine the natures of our thought life to see the power of the elementals and their faithfulness to the larger Davic life. So these devas, or these angels, which is called the light side deities, they have assumed control over the elementals, which means these intelligences on the mental planes are running rampantly out of our control, and that's why our karma is affecting us negatively. We have to burn up. Shiva takes his third eye in the mythology. Shiva takes his third eye and burns up the universe, but it's metaphysical to the soul, burning up the allegiances of anything outside of itself. So you have to illuminate yourself with this internal fire, the cosmic fire. And the third eye burns up all of the allegiances that the elementals have outside of ourselves and forces them to have their attention and intentions on what we want to bring in our lives karmically. So they become our servitors when we use the third eye to generate a new reality. So basically, how does this work? So the elementals have this ancient loyalty towards this overshadowing deva or angel. We must find a means to force them from that allegiance. And this process is through concentrated thoughts. If the mind strays from a intended ideal, it indicates that the elementals composing the ideal have departed back to their mother deva and have not yet yielded to the soul's authority. So, you know, when you try to close your eyes and you try to bring things into manifestation, the laws of manifestation, and it just doesn't work for you, you haven't convinced the elementals to come under your control and work for you. They still like, that motherfucker ain't really doing nothing. We're gonna stay over here. They're like yawning, like, let them put in some more work. We'll probably work for them later on. So these elementals are only loyal to the larger Davic life and souling the mental plane. So while the thinker is focused upon thought, these aggregated elementals will gradually be pulled away from the thinker by their deva superior. So the thinker is supposed to be the soul. Our soul needs to win the allegiance by doing spiritual work. We must gain the loyalty of the elementals to be the controlling agent. So awakening the third eye gradually makes this capacity possible. When the third eye is open and operative, it has the power to force the elementals to forfeit the allegiance to their deva and yield to the soul. And this is done when we transmit the power into the pineal and we transmit the Kundalini fire up in our meditations. We are destroying bonds that the elementals have outside of us. And we are forcing a constructed thought form to bow to the reign of our soul. So no longer are thoughts capable of being pulled out of the control of us. And wielding this destructive power is a capacity possible only when a disciple nears this transfiguration, when we fully open the third eye. When we see the unity underlying diversity and sense the correct direction of the magical process in us, we have essential prerequisites before the third eye, which can be a destructive role to us, but it can be used safely if we know how to project them upon the elemental. So at first, we need to understand where the soul glances. It glances in three directions. It glances up. So when in meditation, there is a projecting longitudinal force coming out of you. It projects upward, onwards, and forward. No, upwards, backwards, and onward. So the soul's attention when you're in meditation may be backwards. It may not be intensive of where you're focusing. So you have to figure out, and that's why I speak about the Bindu seed. There is a spiritual sun inside of us. Look up the Bija seed, Bindu seed. And there has to be a alignment within us metaphysically when the spiritual sun is in the right kairos. That means the astrological time is right for you to go in meditation. Throughout the hours of the day, there is a seed traveling through your body. And it's traveling through the chakras, it's traveling through the astrological regions in the body. And when you're meditating, you have to make sure that it's beaming upwards, sort of like how you see when you see the UFO tractor beam. This is metaphysical to the Akita. You have to send your energy upward when the soul is looking upward simultaneously. So you have to know when the soul is beaming upward towards the pineal region, and you have to match that region. And when you do that, you open up your third eye. I know that's complicated, but that's what Patreon is for. And when you continue to do this, your third eye opens. It burns up, the Kundalini fire begins to burn up the bonds to anything outside of ourselves. And we become the God of our universe. We take over rulership in our role as divine beings ourselves. So with that, we're going to open it up for questions. Just hit 9 o'clock, so that's perfect. I'm going to put the link in here for you guys, and we'll use the remaining time frame to answer those questions. All right, I just pinned it in there for you guys. Put a thumbs up if that information was helpful for some of you. Put a thumbs up. Have I had a Kundalini experience? Absolutely. I've been having Kundalini experiences for over a decade. I've actually practiced Kundalini yoga, Hatha yoga, Ratha yoga, the Sushana yoga. So I mainly practice the dragon breath technique. I've done a lesson on the dragon breath technique on Patreon. And that really gets the upswelling of the Kundalini energy. And now I can use the Mundus Imaginalis. I can open up my Kundalini at will. It maybe takes me a couple of minutes, but I can really feel the swelling up my spinal cord and gather the cold fusion up and send it up anytime now. That's why I told people on Patreon, I'm having the most crazy dreams I've ever had. I'm the next Patreon video, I'm gonna go into the dreams. There's a book that we're gonna go into about the dream gates to Kundalini. And it also is about me. I think because I'm growing my hair out, and our hair are cosmic antennas, that's another reason why possibly I'm having more spiritual dream states than I've ever had in my life. Yeah, fasting helps, Saint Lucifer Diablo. Matter of fact, there's a video. I think we're going to try the Patreon to do this fasting that this guy's talking about. There's a video I want to try everyone on. Listen to this guy real quick. It's very interesting. It's only 22 seconds.
If you do a 7-day water fast, the studies done in Boston at the university showed that your lifetime probability of getting cancer is reduced by more than 70%. Some studies even higher. Because the cells that are going to die off in the state of the fast are going to be your cancer cells.
We might have to do a fasting exercise for 7 days. That's very interesting. That really caught my attention. I love when you guys send me videos. I love that. Let's see if we got anybody. I don't really see nobody in the link. Okay, here's somebody. Can you hear me, Matt? Matt Z. I'm unmuting yourself. Okay, for some reason your mic won't unmute.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, here you go. Okay, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, not too much. Good to see you.
Likewise. So how can I help you today? Oh, go ahead.
I was just observe. I didn't have a particular question.
Oh, okay. I thought I was putting the StreamYard up there for questions. So we're having a Q&A right now. So we're just having questions. So you guys don't come in there just to chill. Lord God. Oh, Lord. But I appreciate you, Matt. You know, I'm not saying nothing against you. That's cool. So how can you protect yourself from psychic readings? Psychic readings. I have to understand how can you protect yourself from psychic readings. Like you went into a psychic reading or somebody psychically reading you? I understand that question, Moonchild. All right, I don't really see no goddamn questions. Y'all don't got no goddamn questions. All right, family. I think that's good for today. I hope the information was helpful. We'll be back on Patreon this week. Make sure you follow the Patreon. And if not, give a small donation to the channel. $5 goes a long way. I can put that towards my light bill or my water bill. So if you can just click the link, you know, we have several ways: Cash App, PayPal. Send a little love towards the channel. Keep the lights on. Appreciate everyone. Rimpoya, Aoshulu, Ashe to the ancestors. We will be back real soon. Y'all have a great rest of your evening, morning, or afternoon. Peace.